Hello, welcome and join us. Welcome for joining us here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Shatz, your host tonight. I am the Doyenne of Relationship Building, and I just want to welcome you to the show. Want to do a little homework first because you guys, it is so great to see you each and every week. I want to thank you for joining us on the goingsolomedia.com, where we host all of our wonderful programs. Our hosts are there, our guests are there, and we want to thank you for joining us there and signing up for our newsletter that we send out, and also for making us the #1 internet singles talk network. I just want to thank you for doing that because, as we've moved forward in going solo, we realize that really joining together and uniting together is really the answer. And so we're so happy that we're able to do that. So, of course, if you guys want to reach me, you can reach me on goingsoloNetwork.com. All of our platforms are there. You're welcome to join them and join us. And then also, if you want to email me, my email is goingsoloNetwork@gmail.com. So let's get on with the show because you guys didn't tune in to see me. You guys tuned in to see our wonderful guest tonight. And let's bring her right forward. Hello, Tori. How are you?
I'm great, Cece. How are you?
It is great having you. Tori Bramble is a legal ambassador, and she calls herself, she's a dad's divorce coach. She empowers fathers worldwide, I believe, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And it's so great. You are originally from New York, and you've been for the last 20 years really helping men navigate through the bumpy road of divorce. And so really allowing them to be present, and good fathers to their children. And one thing I read about you, and it had it on your website, which I thought was very impressive, but it says, Tori now helps divorcing men crush divorce and get more time with their children, protect their money, and create a new norm. And I think that is so vital because we do have another show called Dad's Going Solo. I really want to embrace the men out there that are good quality men. So sometimes they get the bad rap, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. They do. Men are so misunderstood in the legal system and in life.
Yes, sometimes they're hard to understand, but we try to understand them. So, but tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, why did you decide that you wanted to represent men through divorce, and what was your journey with regards to that?
Well, I started out as a family law attorney, and doing that type of work, I represented thousands of men who were going through the divorce process from the beginning of them coming to me for a consultation, either because they'd been served with divorce papers or because they wanted to initiate a divorce. And the majority of these men were married fathers who wanted to spend more time with their children. And oftentimes I found that they were discriminated against in the court system. And although I had quite a few victories along the way, getting full custody for dads who actually wanted it and the mother wasn't able to take care of the children full time, I found that the dispensement of justice sometimes was uneven. And I felt like dads were at a disadvantage. So I figured after my career pretty much wrapped up as a full-time divorce attorney, I decided that I wanted to make more of an impact by coaching dads through the process and becoming not only an encouragement to them, but also an accountability partner with them and help them along the way to be able to get from where they are now to where they want to be, which is the end of the divorce journey, which means in most men's minds that they want to have equal access to their children.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally understand it. I've always been an advocate for, fair rights, good rights for both men and women. As we're going through the divorce process, I've seen both sides. I've seen both, women get taken advantage of, and I've seen men get taken advantage of. And I hear it all the time. And you wonder, can something be done with regards to the court system? And I don't know. What is your opinion on that?
Well, there have been great strides in the court system. In the 70s and 60s, there was something called a tender years presumption, which meant that children of tender years, generally under the age of 12, were presumed to be better off being cared for primarily by their mothers. That has changed legislatively in all of the states. There's no longer a tender years presumption, and both parents are considered to be on equal footing involving raising their children and having time with their children. However, there are many states that are not automatically assuming that a joint arrangement where both parents have equal time with their children is the best for the child. For example, in Texas, there's an automatic presumption that the child should have equal time with both parents. But in Virginia, where I practiced primarily, there isn't. It's a factor that the judge considers, but it's not a presumption. And it's getting better, but we're not there yet. Most fathers have to fight, if you will, to get equal time if their co-parent does not want to give them that parenting time that they desire.
Right. I think sometimes it's based, and forgive me if I'm wrong, and please let me know, but from here in Florida, I'm in Florida, and it seems like it's based a lot on figuring out the child support. So they calculate how many night stayovers, and then they build the child support on that, which then seems to cause a fight among the parents because they're trying to get that child support either raised or lowered, so it's they're at this battle with regards to custody, and it's really based on the numbers, and it causes, I think, quite a disrupt in the family unit itself. And so what I'm trying, and I know that there's many coaches out there, that what we're trying to do is come together as a team and unite and create awareness that, we can maybe have a divorce, but still have a very solid family unit. And we don't necessarily have to be fighting and causing havoc within our family structure that causes our kids to really, suffer in the long run. And so, and how are you, I know that you're kind of feeling the same way. And I know your practice is, you're trying to do that and encourage men. So tell me a little bit about your views on that.
My views on that, Cece, are basically that just because people get divorced, it doesn't mean the family stops. You're still a family. You're just a differently structured family. And to go with what you said about child support and the number of days, a lot of times there are certain co-parents, not all, but certain co-parents that know that it's best for the children to have equal access to dad, but it's driven by economic factors, as you said, because if it turns out the kids are with dad less than half time, then their child support is either reduced or in some cases, if the mother earns more than the father, then it's just eliminated entirely. So one of the ways to possibly solve that in the law is to fashion some sort of adjustment or change to those laws so that child support is not contingent upon the number of days that one parent has.
Yeah.
But there shouldn't be all this fighting. As I tell parents, because I'm an experienced parent, my children are adults right now. You have to look at your kids as little people, but they are going to be adults someday. And you want them to be the best adult, the best citizen that they can be, and happy and healthy adults. And if you're blocking access from having time with both parents and the input of both parents in raising the child, then you're leaving your child in a position where they might grow up and have problems, drug abuse, involvement with the criminal justice system. I mean, those are the extremes. But it's been shown by studies that fathers in the home, in large part, help prevent those situations from happening and promote healthy adults.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I know that just as an example, when I was getting a divorce, I read many books and things like this, and I decided that it would be best for my son to live with my ex. And I think that it was there was still times, that we would have little spats or whatever, about things, the strong arm struggle type of thing. But on the majority, I think it was really actually very good for my son. And, he could really, bond with his dad and understand. But here's the thing, Tori, is that each party brings a value to our children.
Absolutely.
Because we are opposite of each other. I mean, because opposites attract. And so very often when you have a relationship, you have, a yin and yang type of thing. And so kids need to, when they grow up, they need to kind of understand that. They need to understand that, personalities are different, there's so many traits that, a mom can bring, that a mom brings forward, and then so many wonderful traits that a dad brings forward. And so if we can somehow try to get this united a little bit better and be more supportive, I think that's definitely the route for that. And I love what you're doing, because being a dad's coach, really homing in on, the structure of the fathers and making that strong for the kids is very, very important, because they need that access to fathers for sure. So what can we do to make it better? How can we do this?
Well, the first step is communication between the co-parents, which tends to be the single largest barrier to getting to the point where both kids have that equal influence of both parents. If we could somehow, through therapy or education, get people to come together and see the big picture of raising kids together in a cohesive unit, even though you're in separate living arrangements, you can still have a cohesive family unit. And once that communication is arranged and facilitated and both people understand how important it is, then they can understand, hey, we've got to raise these kids and we've got an awesome responsibility, and we've got to make sure that we get it right. And the only way you get it right is to put your differences aside as individuals and focus on your children and what's best for them. And that's oftentimes easier said than done, but it's possible. So that's the first step, is improving communication between the people who are divorcing or breaking up.
I think that's so right. It's so spot on, because it's really the awareness. The more we can bring out shows like this, that we can bring out awareness to couples that are divorcing, understanding that communication is the key. And sometimes that's hard when you're divorcing, because you probably are divorcing because you do have the lack of communication.
Right.
Exactly. So you're struggling there a little bit. But what I home in on is that, like you said, get therapy or go to a coach, go to a divorce coach, someone that can, or a life coach, someone that can definitely help you be able to start better grounds of communication. Because as you said, it's not now focusing on how we're going to get along with each other. It's focusing on how are we going to be better parents to our children. And so that's, you said it so beautifully. So that's wonderful. So anything else that we can do to try to minimize the destruction that goes on with families as they're divorcing, that we can support the dads a little bit more?
One of the ways is, and that's where I come in, a lot of times dads have well-meaning family members and friends who want to weigh in on what's going on during their divorce process. And they mean well, but they're not objective. They're subjective in the advice that they give. And sometimes they don't give you really good advice. So where I come in is I'm a sounding board. I listen to my dads about what it is that they want. From the time that we start working together until after the divorce is finished. And so I also help prevent fathers from doing stupid things. For example, sending that text that they shouldn't send because they're angry, because their co-parent has riled them up about some issue about the kids, or not writing that email that can be used as evidence in court against you. I give men strategies to be able to communicate more effectively with their soon-to-be ex. I give men strategies and guidance on how to create a new home for their kids, because it's very important that men create as much of a homely environment for the kids as they have with their mom. That's really important. So oftentimes men don't know, well, what should I get? If I have a baby, what kind of things do I necessarily need to have in the house? What kind of arrangements do I need to make with the co-parent to be able to communicate with them more effectively? And there are apps that are available that can help parents with that as well. So I'm just helping fathers also understand what they want their new normal to look like. Because men tend to wrap their identities around being married. And all their friends generally are friends of the couple. So when they're getting divorced, they're often find themselves just floundering around, not knowing what to do because their social network has been stripped from them. Their identity as a father and provider and husband has been stripped from them. And they just don't know what to do or where to go. And I'm essentially, I handhold, but I also give men strategies to be able to get from point A to point B in that bumpy journey of divorce.
And that's real important because men tend to be fixers, right?
Yes.
So they need a plan, and they need to and they want to fix everything. And when it's broken and they can't fix it, they become frustrated and they don't know what to do. And so this is why it's so vital to be able to help them be able to start putting a plan together of what to do and how to go about doing it. I'll share with you a kind of cute story. I have a divorce support group I've been running for a long time. And there was a gentleman that came to one of the functions that we had. And he had I think it was like maybe a 3-year-old or something like that. And then a baby, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't that used to really taking care of the baby so much. And so he brought the baby without like a stroller or something to put the baby in. He was just carrying the baby from the car seat out with us. And so we all said to them, of course, a lot of us were ladies, and we all said, well, where are you going to put the baby? Where are you going to put and he said, well, I thought I would just hold the baby. And I was like, well, we're going to be here several hours. You can't just keep holding the baby all day long. I mean, you're going to be exhausted. Your arms are going to be like dead weight. So we all took turns holding the baby. And so we helped him start to understand all the different things that he would need at home to be able to take care of the baby. Now, I guess she was angry and didn't send all of the stuff with. So that was a little bit hardening, but yeah. So there's a lot of elements that come in play, just like all the time we talk about with divorce. But it's the emotions, it's this, like you said, the strategies, the home environment, trying to establish a new home environment, a new schedule. I mean, there's so many things that come into play. Right. And equally as we focus on women a lot, we need to also turn our focus on men, right?
Absolutely. And there's also, Cece, the financial aspect. All of a sudden, a man is having a child support obligation and having to budget around that when they didn't have that obligation before. And oftentimes, especially if there's spousal support involved, they're having to create two separate budgets, one to maintain the household, the marital household, and the other to maintain their new home. And there's also a lot of expenses associated with that as well. You know, setting up a new household, making sure that your children have furniture, you know, a bed to sleep in and a comfortable environment. Mm-hmm. And that can be very stressful, having to deal with the financial obligations as well.
Right. Because if they don't have, you know, if they don't have the correct surroundings, then that can be used against them in court.
Yes.
As giving less time, so that because they don't have the right environment there. So yes. That's important. So we're going to take a quick break, Tori. When we come back, let's talk about maybe some different tips that you can give them on start to organizing dads to be able so they can start, you know, creating a home for themselves, or the steps that they need to take to start making their lives a little bit smoother, so they have a little bit more security as they're moving through divorce. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So before we take our break, let's tell everyone how we can get a hold of you. And of course, it's Tori Bramble, and you can reach her at dadsdivorcecoach.com. And of course, that's dadsdivorcecoach.com. And her email is info@dadsdivorce.com. And I know she'd love to hear from you. So send her an email and let her know how you like the show today. And we would appreciate that. So thank you so much, Tori. We're just going to go on a quick break and we'll be right back. Okay. Yes. All right. Stay with us, everyone. Well, welcome back. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Going Solo with Cece show, and we are talking with Tori Bramble. She is a coach, a dad's divorce coach, and she really empowers fathers to really be the best they can be and help them to be able to connect with their children and live a very happy life, right?
Yes, absolutely, Cece.
That's what we're hoping for. So the beginning of the show was really very powerful, I think, because we talked a lot about, really embracing the men as they move forward through divorce, and helping them be able to establish, a new life for themselves, to create a life around their families, to be able to be a solid family unit. Of course, it takes a lot more than just a half an hour. So, and that is a journey that has to be taken through the family. And so there's many steps within that. So Tori, I'd like to talk a little bit more about, what kind of tips can we give the dads as they're moving forward? Trying to establish, them to be a little bit smoother process in the divorce process that will then take them through to living a better life for themselves and their families.
Yes, absolutely, Cece. I'd love to share. One of the tips I have is to men is don't move out of your family home. Because if you move out of your family home without an order from the court that addresses temporary custody, then you're going to diminish your chances of getting at least half time with your children. Because if you move out of your home, you're sending a message to the family court, basically saying that my spouse is perfectly suited to care for our children. And you see, the courts don't like to interrupt the status quo, especially if it's working. So even if you can't stand it, just do what you can to avoid any conflict. And that's particularly, and if you're intending to seek primary physical custody of your children, don't even think about moving out until you've consulted with a qualified divorce attorney. Another tip I have is keep detailed records of when you see your children, what you buy them, like save your receipts, and the interactions you have between your children and their mother. If she blasts you on Facebook, record it. If she posts pictures of a new flame while you're still married, save the post. If she insults you or doesn't let you see your kids, record it. Essentially document everything, especially if you anticipate there's going to be a child custody battle. And be on the best behavior that you can amid divorce, and take the high road. What I mean by that is limit any drinking that you're doing in public. Avoid jumping into a new relationship while you're still married and exposing your children to that person. Keep real quiet on social media, and don't insult your wife, especially in front of your children, because any irresponsible behavior on your part can backfire and affect the outcome of the divorce. And taking the high road, as I said, that's the best way to a smooth divorce. This means keeping the dirty details of the divorce to yourself, with the exception of any close friends and family members. So for example, there's no reason to send a group text to the moms and dads and the soccer team that your wife's cheating on you with your 8-year-old's coach. If you're able to act like a mature adult, it will definitely help calm things down.
Great advice. Totally great advice. I know I've had many conversations with the gentlemen in our group, and I always just say, be the man that you're supposed to be, own up and be the one, so if you have to step aside on a bad conversation, if you have to, turn the other cheek, then do it, and be the man that you want to be and that you want your children to see. And a lot of times that really gets them, because then they think, you know what, I'm gonna be that person because I want to make sure that my kids see that. And so sometimes it's really hard to do that. And I tell the women the same thing. They need to be the woman that they've embodied, and hopefully, with more encouragement and some great coaches out there, that we can get through some of this emotional, tragic, that goes on in divorce. So it really is very, very difficult. So tell me, when you're coaching someone, when you're coaching the dads, are you finding that they are receptive of your information? Are they emotional? Do they really feel, and I think women don't get this, do they really feel the pain of divorce?
Oh, absolutely, Cece. The fathers that I am blessed to coach, they feel the pain, and they their pain to be acknowledged. It's very difficult to be without your child when you're used to having your child with you in the same house on a full-time basis. And switch that from seeing your kids every day, talking to your kids, giving them a kiss goodnight before bed, to seeing them on the weekends at worst, or every other weekend, or even equal time. It's difficult. It's difficult. So I just want to help dads, which I do, is help normalize the situation as best as possible. We talk through what's bothering them. Now, I am an attorney, but I don't give legal advice to my dads. That's something best suited for their attorney. But if they have legal concerns, then I give them strategies about how to communicate effectively with their attorney to explain to the attorney exactly what they want. And I also take the stress off the attorney, because attorneys are not designed to hear all of your problems. Our role is as your ambassador, if you will, through the court system. We're involved in the legal aspect of it. We're not counselors. And while I'm not a counselor per se, they do call me an attorney and counselor at law. So I do have that element that I take from being an attorney and apply it to my coaching. So dads just want to be heard. They want the same things that women want, and they want it to be acknowledged that when they got married, they attached dreams and expectations when they decided to get married. And this has all been shattered. And they just want help building it back up. And that's what I love to do. And that's why I love to support dads. And also, I have the perspective, having been raised in my formal years by a single father, from being able to, in essence, in some ways, think like a man and be able to relate to a lot of their struggles and their experiences that I got to see my father go through as a single parent, helping to raise me.
Yeah, I think it's important that because men don't easily show their emotion at times, and because they've always been taught all their lives to kind of put it in the pocket and move on, that we as women sometimes forget that they do have a tremendous amount of emotion, and that they, do experience a great deal of pain. And so our station here, the Going Solo Network, we have a great deal of men that listen to our programs. And I think it's because they listen to it at home. It's something they can do in their own private, surroundings, and they're not judged for listening to it, but they're given the help that they need to be able to, move forward and hopefully contact some great coaches and be able to move on with their lives. But it's and then it's also very vital for the women to listen to when we have shows that are geared towards men, so they can have a better understanding. Because again, it's that communication level, right? That understanding and that empathy that we need to show for all parties, right? As we're moving through divorce.
Absolutely. And I'm a woman, obviously,
Mhm.
and I understand how women feel, but I also see the side of men, because as a former divorce attorney, I was so intricately involved in the details and hearing how men actually felt while they were going through the process, the raw emotions that they experienced. And unfortunately, in some situations, I saw some tragedies along the way that, had there been proper communication, people would still be alive today. It's really that serious, that men need that support so that they don't fall into that abyss of depression and drinking and all types of destructive behavior that can affect their ability to function in their day-to-day lives and see their children and be that strong guiding influence and play their part in raising them along with mom.
That's very, very well said, very important. And it's true that it's so easy to take that downward spin, when you're going through divorce. And so when you have someone like yourself that can understand it and can kind of throw them a lifeline, to be able to hang on to, it's very, very vital. And one thing I know with our groups and stuff is that, and the network itself, is that I want to show really good quality men. I want to show that to women so they understand, if they have been in a bad relationship, that they're great men out there. So every man that's going through divorce doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad man, and it can be circumstances. There could be so many things that come into play as to the divorce, why the divorce took place. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this person is a tainted person because they're divorced. And, it's beautiful work you're doing, Tori. It truly is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel honored to be able to help fathers, and anything I can do to be that sounding board and that person that actually listens to their concerns and empowers them along the way, I feel like I've accomplished a lot, even doing that.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for how long? You've been doing this for like 20 years?
I've been a practicing attorney for 24 years. Mm-hmm. And excuse me, I started my coaching practice 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Because in essence, I was actually coaching a lot of my dads while I was an attorney. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why the idea was born, because there's certain limitations that you have between being a coach and being an attorney.
Right. And I would think that having the ability to be a coach, you're able to go another level, do another level. I mean, I love attorneys. I have no problem with attorneys, but I know that there's another level that coaches are able to go with an individual that really can help set them on, their path to really get a clearer understanding of what it is that they see for themselves in the future. So I totally get that, totally understand that. So kudos to you for stepping out. And I know that more attorneys are looking for building a team, so to speak, and allowing coaches to be able to come into the arena with handling some of the emotional trauma that goes through with divorce. And that's helping a great deal, I believe.
Yes, I actually work with several attorneys, and I'm part of their divorce team, because by doing that, I'm helping the attorney focus on that father's case, solely on the legal aspects of it, and take the pressure of having to get those calls about she didn't drop the kids off on time, or she caused a scene, or I got angry and I said something I shouldn't have said. You don't want to pay somebody $3.50 an hour to hear that. That's not the best use of your resources. That could be better used towards an activity for your children. And lawyers will gladly charge you to talk about your problems, but they're really not a trained and certified divorce coach like I am, where I'm actually trained in the process and I know the right questions to ask and how to get you to where you want to be during and post divorce.
Right. Because here at the end of the day, you're going to be divorced, right? The attorney is going to handle the legal aspects of it, and you're going to be divorced. And if you don't learn the communication skills with your ex to be able to build a solid family unit going forward in your life, you're going to have craziness, right?
You absolutely are. And I also want to distinguish, Cece, that I'm not a therapist. A therapist helps you deal with your past. That's the function of a therapist primarily. And a coach helps you on the path forward.
Right.
In your journey. So that's the difference between what I do and what a therapist does. Because some people have the misconception, well, you're a therapist, or I could just go to a therapist to solve this. But it's having that person as your thinking partner along the way, side by side that you can count on so that you can keep your sanity and think about really what it is that you want and how you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then learn the communication skills as you're progressing, because eventually that's going to be over, and then you're going to have to, work as a family unit. So to be able to do that, that's the best thing. I totally get it. So, did you take the CDC?
Yes, I'm a
Yes.
certified divorce coach. Yes.
With Peggy D. Cooper?
Yes, with Peggy.
Yes. I took the same course, and she's Randy and Peggy D are just awesome.
They are awesome.
And the course changed my life. It totally changed me completely. I didn't necessarily I don't do as much coaching. I do the just the group stuff with mine, but it set me on a path of a different level, which was the, into the radio and the TV and broadcasting and such. So it's a wonderful course, and you learn a lot, a tremendous amount within it. And I really can see where being specialized in that certainly helps families to be able to move forward, and with you specializing in dads is pretty awesome. So that's great.
Yes. And it's also helpful to have, as your divorce coach, someone who's been an attorney, because they know what the pitfalls are and will guide you on what not to do and what to do and how it can affect you legally. Right. And I've been in the trenches and I've seen it all from A to Z. I could write a book, and I know exactly I should.
We're going to encourage you to do that.
On the list.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're right. And I love what you said at the beginning of the show too, when you talked about, the different steps that you can do, the different tips, stay off social media, keep it down, some of these different items like that. And it's true. A lot of it, you can control a lot of it if you just control your actions. You control some of the things that you do. You can really make the process go a little bit smoother, and keep your emotions at bay, and learn to handle those. So, but this is great. I mean, it's really wonderful information. So, Tori, do you have any last words for us? I want to make sure everyone, again, one more time, they get your information. Just go to dadsdivorcecoach.com. That's our website. And also info@dadsdivorcecoach.com. Send her an email and let her know that you see in the show today. If you have any questions, I'm sure Tori would be happy to answer them. So any last words for us today for our audience?
I also want to let everyone know that you can reach me also on Instagram at Dad Power Coach. And my last words today are just to encourage men who are going through the divorce process. All is not lost. I just want you to remember that, men out there. There is life on the other side. And while you feel like you don't want to go on, like you've lost your family and you've lost all your opportunities to be able to guide your children and raise them, you haven't. It gets better on the other side. It's just different. And you can create the life you want. You don't have the influence of anyone else other than yourself for creating the life that you want. And I would also caution men, please be very, very mindful of getting a person that you're dating involved in the process while you're in the process of going through a divorce. What I mean by that is when you're going through the process of divorce, try not to introduce your children to the person that you're dating. Make sure that that person is someone that you want to be in a long-term relationship with, and that is going to support the relationship that you want and have with your children. And it also can complicate the divorce process tremendously. So just be very mindful about dating and introducing your children to your dating partner, because really this time is for you to focus on yourself during the divorce process. Get fit if you're not fit, eat properly, spiritually get stronger. All that is very important for you to be able to strengthen yourself in mind, body, and spirit as you go through a very stressful process.
Wow, such empowerment. Thank you so much, Tori. You have been just a wonderful guest today, and I really do appreciate it. Everyone, please give a shout out to Tori Bramble. She is the legal ambassador. Dad's divorce coach, empowers fathers. And so, again, her website is dadsdivorcecoach.com. Her email is info@dadsdivorcecoach.com. And then you also said Instagram is, what is it? It's
at Dad Power Coach.
At Dad Power Coach. So connect with her on Instagram. Really reach out to her on social media and connect that way. So thank you so much, Tori. I appreciate it. I hope we have you back on our Dad's Going Solo show. I would love that. We just started that show, and I'm just very happy to be able to bring that forward. So thank you so much today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Cece. Thank you for having me.
It is great having you. You know, I tell you, everyone, you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Shatz, the host of Going Solo with Cece. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You know, it was a little bit of a twist, something a little bit different, focusing on, normally we just focus on divorce, right? We're really homing in, focusing on dads going through divorce. And Tori Bramble is an outstanding coach in her own right, you know, focusing on helping dads being able to move forward in probably one of the darkest times in their lives to be able to live the life of their choice. Isn't that wonderful? Focusing on themselves, moving forward, being positive. That's what we really want everyone to be able to embrace. And so, ladies, if you're listening to the show, take heed, understand it, know that in order to create a good family unit, you have to get along with the dads, right? And so that's what we want to do. We want to create harmony in the family sector. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I loved it. I hope that moving forward, your life is exactly all that you'd want it to be. And we're going to help you move along in a positive direction. Again, if you want to reach out to me, my email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. Check out our websites, goingsolomedia.com, which is all of our media information there. And then also we have a brand new singles group, which is Going Solo Community. Check us out. Join us. We'd love to have you. And I'll see you there. See you next week. Bye for now.